Love, respect, Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. Welcome to another episode of Built with Big King. All right, folks. Of course, we had to delay uh, filming, so to speak, because of some unforeseen challenges, but we keep on rolling. It's all part of it, right? It's all part of the experience is dealing with these challenges, and the nature of them being unforeseen is just another testament to the variety of ways in which one's mastery or one's level of spiritual maturation is tested, right? And we like to think that we go forward with no problems dealing with such changes. We just adapt and move forward. We go with the flow because the flow is in our favor, right? True indeed. All right, folks. So, something real interesting we're going to be discussing um, this week in in today's episode. We're going to be continuing on with the disclosure discussion in general, right? We previously talked about the Disclosure Day movie and what that means in relationship and relative to the actual disclosure movement. Which, by the way, I always want to give credit to Dr. Stephen Greer for spearheading for so long, for so many years. I've studied his work, and he's been spearheading this movement well over 30 years. So, shout out to Dr. Stephen Greer. Thank you, folks, for being in and giving love and coming in and chiming with me at this time of night, man. I love that and appreciate it, truly. And again, shout out to Dr. Stephen Greer, and shout out to you folks for being with me and welcoming in this free thinking, independent conversation as a result of free thinking, independent research. Right, something that I've prided myself in relying upon and recommending to others. There is no substitution for knowing for yourself. Indeed. All right. But yeah, so where we're at right now with this disclosure movement, you see a lot happening and a lot changing. This is why I'm continuing this conversation in yet another episode. So when I say a lot changing, I left off talking about how the Pentagon promises more to come in relationship to more files being released and more uncovered on this subject matter. Um, and then there's also been recent continued hearings on the subject matter, congressional hearings, as well as different things being made public that's sort of happening, not behind the scenes, but in Washington, we'll say, right? Um, and part of which is some of the individuals who have been somewhat commissioned uh, to speak on this subject, in congressional hearings and other things made public, are calling for, first of all, are referring to these uh, UFO or UAP as intruders in quote unquote our airspace, um, which in itself is kind of laughable. We already know that many of these civilizations have been expressed as being seen in our skies going back to antiquity. So that kind of a description doesn't seem appropriate, right? Um, Also, we're seeing a call for budgeting of billions of dollars in defense for what is starting to be articulated more and more as a threat from interference from extraterrestrial slash extra or interdimensional beings and or craft. Okay, this is the narrative that's being painted. Um, and one of the clever ways that it's being painted and supported, right? You always have to give support and reasoning and build a case, especially when they're trying to loosen the purse strings of Congress. They have to build their case. So one of the things they're using to build their case is the number of incidents of injury or harm that have come to human beings that have come in contact with these UAPs or UFOs. Now, as Dr. Greer points out, the interesting thing that they're so conveniently leaving out is the fact that most of the time these injuries are taking place or happening to human being is not the result of non-human intelligence at all or craft or beings at all. It is the result of their interaction with the man made retro engineered craft, the craft that are the product of technologies developed through uninterrupted 7 decades or so of retro engineering these craft, right? Um, and that is a huge distinction. And it is one that is being manipulated and exploited toward the end or toward the establishing of the agenda of this threat, right? It's starting to put, and it makes sense. Start to paint the picture with the fact that there are human beings being injured or having some harm that is coming to them in relationship with these craft and or phenomena. Uh, and then build on that, right? Build on that with hype, with more fear mongering, with more incidents or opportunities for you to introduce in bits of the truth, but only bits, and those bits manipulated in such a fashion that they create and illustrate the agenda that you want to plant in the minds not only of the masses but of Congress and most of the um, I guess the best way to describe it, the legitimately elected elements of government, right? Um, so this is what's taking place. And just as I do also agree with Dr. Greer that this is right out of the old playbook. This is more of the methodology of we'll present the problem, then present the solution, which will just so happen to be in line with supporting and according to our agenda. And that's what they're setting up or attempting to set up right now, right? They want to set up and build the problem in your mind. And this has been done over and over again. Honestly, the same methodology was applied in connection with 9/11. And this has nothing to do with whether or not you believe or debate whether 9/11 was a quote unquote real event. Aside from that, look at what happened afterward. While everyone was in a state of panic, right, which is the problem, complete panic at the potential of terrorist attack right here on American soil, right? And having everyone in complete panic mode, which I can attest as living through it, that most people were absolutely that in panic mode. The solution presented was in tangible form the Patriot Act. And, it was explained that we need these powers in order to fight this fight against terrorism across the globe. Right? It wasn't that the way they sold it. When in reality, most people didn't understand, first of all, that the Patriot Act was not some singular law, that it was a body of laws, um, a numerous body of laws, many of which aimed at and successful in either trespassing on or completely bypassing, if not dismissing, many of your civil liberties. The caveat they didn't tell you about. So this is just more of the same playbook and similar fashion in which these elements operate, right? They have an agenda that they develop. They create the argument or the clear picture of the problem in your mind, the way that they want to frame it, of course. And once it's framed properly or suitably to their liking, they position it in such a way that it is used to manipulate um, the scenario, which is conducive to the building and the supporting of their agenda, the completion, the follow through of their agenda. It makes their agenda only seem to make sense. To most of, and in this particular case, to most of you, and this is no insult, certainly for me. If anything, you should be feeling insulted by them, right? Because they feel you're more than um, naive enough and dupable enough for them to be able to trick you, right? Quite easily with these tactics and this methodology. That is why explaining this methodology aforehand is, quite frankly, the best starting point toward counteracting it. People have to know what they're fighting against in order to fight it, right? And it's this sort of programming, this mental programming that is being woven into a quite effective, if not effectively counteracted, form of manipulation through social engineering. This is what they're going to, they roll it out in the fashion in which they did, and they let it unfurl into elements of their social engineering platform, which again only acts out and carries out, if not counteracted, which we are doing, much to their chagrin, um, if not counteracted, uh, goes toward establishing and carrying out their negative. But again, fortunately, we are effectively and emphatically counteracting all of that, right? Because we're not having it. We want to not let people go into this with blinders on and be blindly led like the sheeple that they think you are, and in their quiet circles laugh about calling you. We're in fact going to let you shepherd yourselves and guide yourselves by giving you ample knowledge to research independently, free thinkingly on your own. So you see for yourself what's going on and are not at that point even capable of being led and manipulated in such a incendiary and nefarious way. So that's what we aim to do. That's what the disclosure movement is all about. Again, I salute Dr. Stephen Greer and point all of you in his direction. Um, I don't have the book nearby, but I do have his book, which is the briefing document I bought that book and was uh, more than happy with what I bought. It was everything I expected and hoped for it to be, and hope that it reached and in an effective way reached all those individuals in government and all those individuals that it does the most benefit in the hands of, right? And certainly it is in great benefit in the hands of the people, right? So more and more people to go out and get that book. I do recommend that personally. The disclosure document uh, made available from Dr. Stephen Greer. Um, Magnificent book and really raises awareness. And again, that is the key. We have to raise awareness. That's step one, is raising awareness. When you do that, you empower people with the opportunity to change. The opportunity to change is lacked if you don't realize there's something that needs changing, right? So, first, getting people to understand and realize that there is a great deal that needs changing and an entire paradigm that supports this kind of activity, folks. This only happens in the old paradigm that breeds misery, pain, and hate through myopic, selfish individuals that form and represent only a minority and a minute fraction of a minority on the planet. Once again, launching us further into living in what I like to call a bass awkward society, right? You know what I'm making a play on, ass backwards. So anyway, um, it does do that. We live bass backwards when we live against what I like to commonly and oftenly at least refer to Dr. Spock's quote that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. When we've been living in a paradigm that the blood, sweat, tears, the energy, the effort, the consent, the intent, the desire, the energy, all of it has been going, of the masses, has been going toward the benefit and the myopic selfish needs of the few, the socially economic elite that have been positioned to benefit, to reap the rewards, to reap you, literally to reap you, and what you bring into uh, uh, this collapsed. And when I say collapsed, I mean energy that has been collapsed into physicality, this physical corporeal realm, and the world that we co create and agree on. They trick you into being manipulated into putting them in a position to reap your energy and to reap all that you make available to them, where this cabal is able to enjoy untold wealth, power, and influence over the world in service to their hidden masters. But now humanity has the magnificent, enlightened opportunity to break away from all of that. And step one, I urge, is to indeed spread awareness. Knowing is half the battle. And I admit that I take that from hearing it years ago as a child watching G.I. Joe cartoons all the time. They would always end it with that phrase, knowing is half the battle, or that saying, should I say. And it's absolutely true. You can't solve any problem that you are unaware of existing, right? Um, you should I say you can't consciously do so. Um, and it is time for us to take conscious action, right? Wise action, beneficent action. Remember, we're moving away from a paradigm that supported conflict and warfare, right? And violence of a multitude of natures. We're walking away from that into a higher consciousness where it is our complex and beautifully unique mentalities and intellects that through collaborative effort and communication can come to feasibly peaceful, and viable solutions to real problems that have plagued humanity for far too long, because that lack of across the board cooperation has been missing. So, if anything moving forward, let's increase that and not increase the fear factor that is being attempted to be ramped up in all of us, right? Again, to support the agenda. They would love to do just that, increase the fear factor, have many people running around starting to say, oh my goodness, aliens are real and they're planning to come and get us. No, no, somebody save us. So they can swoop in. Dun, 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 dun. We'll save you. Just hop in the van. We got everything taken care of. And by the way, sign off all of your rights and subject you, your children, and your future generations to a uh, uh, nightmare of a dystopian existence on this planet under the rule and dominance of a few socially economic elite. That's right, folks. That's the underlying thing. We won't tell you about it, but still, sign right here on the dotted line and hop in the van or the truck or the school bus or whatever it is they come to round folks up in and have them give away and sign away their sovereignty and freedom. Does that sound like a paranoid reaction or a paranoid vision of the carrying out of an agenda? Well, perhaps if you don't look at the nefarious behavior and what has already happened under the guidance, rulership, or leadership, so to speak, of the individuals in question and those of similar ilk throughout at least the last 70 years, probably 100 or greater. In fact, probably greater than that. Folks, just do the free thinking, independent research for yourself, and it becomes more than painfully obvious. It becomes evident to the point that it screams in your mind, what is going on? Oh my goodness, how asleep have we been? Time to wake up. Time to wake up, indeed. So, folks, that's where we're at. Know that is the agenda, that is the attempt, that is the effort to get you as fearful as possible on this entire subject, and then swoop in with the solution that threads, feeds, communicates, and totally supports their agenda, which only results in a dystopian nightmare of an existence under the socially economic elite. After all, folks, aren't they the quote unquote puppet masters with the hands, so to speak, up the backs of so many individuals or groups that are a part of mainstream media, all controlled by the same cabal? But again, in spite of all that, so many of you are awakening. Um, and it's breathtaking, right? And I can imagine the panic it is creating, and we can see the panic that it is creating in the socially economic elite. Folks, they're essentially running out of fingers and toes to close the dam. You ain't got enough fingers and toes. You can't stop the flood of energy, of higher consciousness that is being sparked in all of humanity. More and more people coming to a higher level of spiritual awakening and higher consciousness every day. And for everyone, we are moving forward. We are evolving forward. We all come from the same place or even the same point of consciousness, but we are all moving forward. All right, folks, a shortened episode, yes, but certainly not short on importance. The message is clear. Don't give in to fear. Don't give in to fear. Do not give in to fear. The message is clear, right? Um, Instead, focus on compassion. First of all, folks, for anybody who has any kind of a belief system centered on a monotheistic principle, then you believe in some sort of a relationship with your creator. And you should be thinking, dare I suggest, that there is no creation out there that is higher or more powerful than the creator of everything that ever was, does, and ever shall exist. Therefore, if you are in your creator's favor, what in the world do you have to worry about? Aliens or not? Think about that. And maybe the most important thing is evolving into higher consciousness and being pleasing unto the sight of your creator in efforts to do so. Think about that. Think about it. All right, folks. Again, I thank you all. I love you all. I appreciate you tremendously for being with me on this episode of Big Kings, Buildin with Big King. Man, we are in season number 3, and I believe already this is week number 6. So we continue surging powerfully forward. Please help me to continue to build the worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Please do like, share, subscribe, and click the notification button, right? We want to continue to get the algorithm moving back in our favor, even more powerfully so, and pushing us out to more and more people. So please do like, share, and subscribe, and click the notification button. Folks, I thank you for helping me to build the movement. Um, again, of course, I grow the worldwide movement through my creative works, YouTube channel, all the over 750 videos in the library, a couple of books on Amazon, also audible.com, and in the library, National Library of Congress. Um, man, 2 podcasts, one of which on rumble.com, as well as my nightly news show on rumble.com, coming to you just about every night. Not every night necessarily, but close to it. Thank you, folks. Check out and support all those things. Buy the books. They're very affordably priced, only $14. If you want to make a donation, that is very much appreciated and will go directly toward building the worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. I thank you all. I love you all. Of course, again, this was another episode of Build with Big King. I am your host, Big King Sadiq. I love you all. Thank you. I'm out.